All right, it's just after midnight here. We are updating for Sunday's game action. I know you're sick of hearing about my Patreon, but if you want to join us and get full sheet access, click that link in the show notes below. Let's get into Game Week 10. We're going to start with who's hot. Last 15 games. So this is range from 414 to 428. And I've highlighted guys that you probably do not want to consider because either they're a part-time player or they are a catcher and will probably sit one of the games this game week. So if we take all those guys out, who does it leave us? Well, a lot of four-gamers here. So Baltimore, Chicago Cubs, Mets, Yankees, and Washington are all 4 games this game week. Gunnar Henderson's just been on a tear, 370 over his last 15 games with 6 homers, 13 RBIs, 3 steals, putting up huge points, 3.15 per plate appearance, getting near the top of that potent Baltimore lineup, getting a lot of at-bats, 59.08, way ahead of the rest of the field. Your top play this week. CJ Abrams in Washington's been a great surprise this year. 3 homers the last 2 weeks. Very good, 2.55 points per plate appearance. The 4 games, I definitely have him in. If Francisco Lindor's turned around a slow start, he's hit 4 homers in the last couple of weeks. If you were waiting on him, he's finally breaking out of his slump. Alec Boehm is absolutely on a tear. He's your top 3 gamer, projected almost to 40 in 3 games, 472 batting average over the last 2 weeks. You don't get any hotter than this. Jordan Westburg, another Baltimore Oriole. You got Jacob Young for Washington, so this guy's kind of interesting. Probably somebody you hadn't considered. Almost 3 points per plate appearance over the last couple of weeks, hitting 417, 6 stolen bases, getting on base, stealing bases, putting up points. So might want to consider Jacob Young. Another Washington National, Nick Senzel's hit 5 home runs over the last couple of weeks, hit 2 yesterday. He's putting up points. And get him in if you can. He's got a third base eligible current season card. His classic cards are just outfield. Mookie Betts has been doing it all year. Ellie De La Cruz, Trey Turner, all hot right now. If we look more at the 2024 numbers, so this is for the full season, a full month instead of the 2 weeks. CJ Abrams, Gunnar Henderson, real close, right around 46. Juan Soto, 43. Betts at 40 with just the 3 games. Got to keep him in the lineup. Westburg, De La Cruz, Volpe, Ohtani. Pete Alonso has 4. Ryan Mountcastle has 4. Definitely some guys to consider here for your hitters. If you don't trust 2024, you can look back at 2023. And we've adjusted this for a normal game week. We're just going to sort the projection here. So if we're going off of the 2023 stats, Aaron Judge would be your top pick here, followed by 3 games of Acuna. But Acuna's not hitting up to his normal standards right now. So that's why I like to trust the in-season stats more than the previous season stats. Bellinger's injured. Soto's still there. Lindor's still there. Pete Alonso. Definitely put some weight into these, but not as much as the current season stats. We look at 2022. So what this is showing us is just an average game week with the number of games that the team has this coming game week based on their stats from this season. And this was the season that Aaron Judge hit 62 homers. He was the best scorer in the league, and when the best scorer in the league is playing 4 games, you have to get them in your lineup. And so you see there's a huge gap down. Of course, he's not the same player he was 2 years ago, but he is starting to get it going. But you see a lot of the same names. So you see Alonso, Lindor. Average player with 4 games in a given week in 2022 scored 21.38 so rare points. So Judge more than double that. Based on what they've done so far this year, top projected starter this week is Zach Wheeler, followed by Peralta, Ronaldo Lopez, Shota Imanaga, Joe Ryan, Nick Lodolo. I think you can start any of those guys. Obviously, we want to put a little weight on how they pitched in previous seasons. So we can go through and find any of those guys in this list. We wanted to see how Zach Wheeler did in an average game week in 2023. Here I can go find Zach Wheeler. He's going to be at the bottom of my alphabetized list. 26.5. He's a little better so far this year than he was last year. If we look back to 2022, he was 27.4. So this is right around his normal range. He's just a good pitcher overall. If we open up our tracker tool, we can input the 2024 projection. In each of the last 2, we enter our card's XP bonus. This formula will average the 3 seasons, multiply by the bonus, and give us our projection, telling us who in our list we should use. And then it just depends on what competitions we want to prioritize. I'm prioritizing the AL and the NL first. I'm making my decisions here. But a lot of pitching is just playing matchups. You want to start your pitchers against teams that strike out a lot because those strikeouts are worth 2 points apiece. I'm seeing more confirmed starters now, so we'll go through the list here. Henry, Montgomery confirmed, Gallen unconfirmed for Wednesday. And I think the reason Gallen's not confirmed is because he left his last start. A hamstring injury. He thinks he's going to be fine for Wednesday. I wouldn't be shocked if he did not make that start. I'd probably stay away from Gallen this week. Fried, Lopez, and Sale all locked in. At Seattle, Seattle strikes out a ton. It's a great pitcher's park. I would say that's a yes and a yes on both fronts. I would go with any of those guys. Baltimore with their 4-game set. Grayson Rodriguez, Kramer, Burns, all locked in. Kyle Bradish makes his debut. I probably wouldn't start him this week, but he's a really good pitcher. I think they'll probably go easy on him, maybe give him 4 or 5 innings. Burns is an auto start for me every time he goes out there. Rodriguez got roughed up a little bit his last start. Be a little careful with him, and Kramer I don't trust. All right, Criswell, Crawford, Winkowski. Winkowski is a reliever that they're stretching out just because of all the injuries in the rotation, so you don't want him. Crawford's been very good. Crawford would be the only start here for me. Tyon, Assad, Imanaga, and Brown. The Mets in New York, so pitcher's park. A Mets lineup that struggled a little bit, aren't hitting all that well. Assad's actually been really good. He's got a relief pitcher eligible card. Tyon, we trust him for this start. I tend to lean away from him. We'll see what he can do. Imanaga's looked really good. I would go with him. Brown, absolutely not. Ashcraft, Nick Martinez, and Lodolo. I'm going to start Lodolo. It wasn't quite as good as last start, but I think he can get you 20 to 25. And if he's got his curveball working, he can get you more. We got Carrasco, McKenzie, and Logan Allen. This is at Houston. I don't want to start any of these guys. I think Houston's going to wake up here pretty soon, and it's not going to be pretty. They're already hitting. They're just not pitching very well. Colorado's got Feltner, Hudson, Lambert. Feltner, the only confirmed. All right, Crochet, Soroka, Chris Flexen. Crochet's got that strikeout upside. I got off to a great start this year. He was pumping 97, 98, getting a lot of strikeouts. The last couple outings have been much more difficult. He's coming back to earth in a hurry. Minnesota has woken up a little bit, and I think they've won 6 in a row. Still are striking out a lot, though. All or nothing. He could get shelled. He could come up with 10 or 12 strikeouts. Soroka's definitely a no. Flexen's definitely a no. Flaherty, Maeda, Olsen, all confirmed. This is St. Louis. It's in Detroit. Maeda's hasn't been good enough for me to trust. Flaherty I would put in here. He's been getting a lot of strikeouts. Reese Olson, I think you can start. Hunter Brown, Verlander, and Spencer Arrighetti. Hunter Brown's been so bad. A 9.68 ERA and a 2.49 whip. 0-4. Woof. We got Cleveland coming in. Only guy I trust here is Verlander, and he's not the same Verlander he was a couple years ago, but he's still capable. Brown and Verlander both confirmed. We got Ragans, we got Lugo, and Bolin. Well, I won't be starting Bolin because I don't know who that is. Ragans, yes, even at Toronto. I will put him in almost every time, and this is one of those times. Seth Lugo has been surprisingly good. Temper expectations with Seth Lugo. He is pretty good against bad teams, pretty mediocre against everybody else. These numbers are not going to hold. Canning, Anderson, Sandoval. Philly's a really good hitting team. I would not start any of those guys. Paxton, Knack, and Yamamoto. Yamamoto's the best of the three, obviously, and definitely throw him. The other two, very questionable, even with the Dodgers lineup hitting behind him. And Miami's got 4. Trevor Rogers hasn't been spectacular, but he hasn't been terrible either. Kind of liking what I'm seeing from him in this Washington lineup. We'll go through periods where they just don't hit. So an interesting matchup here for Rogers. Probably start any of these guys against Colorado. Braxton Garrett's making his season debut. Hopefully he's healthy, but he gets Colorado, so yeah, you can trust him against Colorado. And then Edward Cabrera, a little more difficult last time out. I didn't give him the ball again. This guy's striking out 30% of his batters, only walking 9. Walks have always been his big problem. If he can keep the walks in check, which he has so far this year, he's got some bad luck with batted balls. I like his strikeout upside. I think Brewers have a 3-game homestand against the Rays. The Rays are not hitting at all. Bryce Wilson's a fill-in. Freddie Peralta's an ace. Colin Ray is very mediocre. I'd start Peralta for sure. The other 2 guys, no thanks. Minnesota gets the White Sox. Ryan, Woods, Richardson, Ober. Yes, yes, yes. All 3 against the terrible White Sox. 4 for the Mets. Severino, Minaya, Budo, Hauser. Just nothing all that great here. Cubs can hit a little bit. Yeah, Severino's not the guy he was a couple years ago. Don't trust Minaya. Budo I just haven't seen enough of, and Hauser's below average. Yankees get 4, but it's at Baltimore. Schmidt, Cortez, Heel, Rodon. Actually, some pretty good pitchers in here. I'm not starting anybody against Baltimore. Oakland goes back home. Boyle, Wood, and Stripling. Boyle has flashed some good strikeout upside, but he's also been really wild. 7.06 ERA. Stripling 0-5 already. We haven't even played a month. He's already lost 5 times. We're going to avoid him. No, no, and no for Oakland starters. All right, Philly gets Anaheim. Some decent matchups here. Christopher Sanchez, yes, I like him. Spencer Turnbull's looked great, like him. Zach Wheeler is maybe the best pitcher in the league. Yes, yes, yes. All right, I would not recommend Bailey Falter, except he's at Oakland, and Oakland can't hit, and it's a huge ballpark with a lot of foul territory, so there are some outs that you wouldn't normally get that you get in Oakland. Maybe this is the week to start Bailey Falter or Quinn Priester. Normally they would both definitely be no's. I would say they are maybes this week. Keller goes from a maybe to a yes. All right, Waldron, Brito, Musgrove. I keep saying Musgrove is better than his numbers, and then he goes out and gets shelled. Yeah, this San Diego rotation is just not very good, especially with Yu Darvish down. I don't really think you can trust any of those guys. Bryce Miller, Castillo, and Emerson Hancock, they're at home, so it's a good pitcher's park, but they're getting the Braves, so that's bad. Braves can really hit. Bryce Miller's looked really good this year. I would put him in the maybe tier here, just good park, but tough lineup. Luis Castillo, he's almost an auto start. I think you start him every time he's at home, despite the fact that they're playing Atlanta. He's just too good to put on your bench. And Emerson Hancock, I would not start. All right, San Francisco's going into Boston, so a tough place to pitch. We've got Logan Webb, Jeffries, and Harrison. Logan Webb's been so good his last couple outings. I think you can start him even in Boston. He's one of the top pitchers in the league. Jeffries, I'm going to go no with his 22.5 ERA. And Kyle Harrison, sometimes I start him. This is not one of those times. All right, we've got Matz, Gibson, and Michaelis for St. Louis going into Detroit. Detroit can't hit, so it's not a bad matchup for any of these guys, and the park is a pitcher's park. Normally, I would be a no on Matz. This makes me a maybe. Normally, I'd be a maybe on Gibson. I'd go ahead and start him this week. Nothing spectacular, but startable. Same with Michaelis. I think you can start any of these guys, but none of them are great starts. We got Pepio, Alexander, and Eflin. Pepio's been very good when I did not expect him to be very good, and he's been pretty bad when I expected him to be good. The Brewers are okay, but not great hitters. Park's pretty neutral. I would start Pepio, and I would start Eflin. Alexander I'd avoid. Gray, Heaney, Eovaldi for Texas. This is at home against Washington. All right, I don't like Heaney. I don't think he's any good. I think he's going to lose his rotation spot sooner rather than later. I wouldn't start him against anybody, not even Washington. John Gray is mediocre, but this is a place where you can use him. And Eovaldi's probably their best starter. Definitely start him this week. Toronto, we have Rodriguez, Barrios, and Bassett. Bassett got torched a little bit last time out. I think he'll be fine. Barrios has been excellent this year. Definitely want to start him. And Rodriguez, I don't know a ton about. Probably stay away from him until I get more information. Irvin confirmed. Gore, Williams, Parker, your other 3 for Washington. I don't like very many Washington starters. Kenzie Gore's looked good so far this year, and Mitchell Parker's looked good as well. This is at Texas. This is a hitter's park and a team that can hit. Want to be careful. Gore would be the only one I'd really consider starting. I don't think Parker has any cards yet. Williams is an avoid for me, and so is Urban. Hope that helps your Game Week 10 preparation. If you want full sheet access, hit the Patreon link in the show notes and join up with us.